So, hi guys. So, I started to record already and I wanted to pause it. And when I say record, I mean for the podcast. I wanted to, I'm in the closet, I don't know, as you can see. But, yeah, we are going to start exploring the differences and the similarities in the female and male's anatomy, okay? But before we get to the physical aspects of the body, we're going to go over some things, right? Like the needs. What is a typical day like for a man? What is a typical day like for a woman? A week, a month, right? So I'll give you an example. Like a typical month for a female. You might need your hair done if you're that type of girly, depending on the type of girly you are. I know I'm looking like this. If you know, you know. Gotta keep the ears and the head covered, okay? Um, let's just say you are a natural girly. You may have to get your hair done every day, every other day. Maybe you have braids, right? Maybe you have cornrows and you just get your hair done every week or every 2 weeks. Maybe you have box braids, right? And that requires you to get your hair done every month or every other month, right? Maybe you're a man and you need a haircut just every 3 weeks, right? You don't have to buy maxi pads. You don't have to buy panty liners. You don't have to buy a bra and panties. You just have to buy boxers and socks, right? So, as I stated, we had already started to record, and uh, the creator was like nudging me to make sure we started doing these videos. I'm not sure why it's so important for us to get started on this, but we will. I know I look rough. I'm looking crazy, but I don't care. So we're gonna go back to. We're gonna merge. We're going to combine the video as well as the podcast recording. My devices are all over the place. I was trying to get my tablet together, whatever. All right. So, yeah. Now, I ended off saying on the podcast that I was trying to see like what God wanted me to do because he had given me the download to do this yesterday, and then today I had gotten another download, so I wasn't sure which one he wanted me to do. So I hope this is not some really weird conjure where you're trying to like get me to do some crazy stuff and record and you're like, oh, let's do this and let's do that. Okay. So and then so let's slide into this. So now we're recording right on YouTube as well as the podcast because if you know, for some reason, the recordings from the podcast are no longer uploading to YouTube. So the Most High told me to just go ahead and start creating these videos. So the female and the male anatomy, right? That's what we're going to start focusing on. We're going to start doing some comparisons and eventually we will pull out the whiteboard and start actually creating a chart so we can see the things that we have in common and the things that we do not. We've gone over this before. It's common knowledge, right, that we're all women in the womb, and around the 5th or 6th week, the mom's hormones determines the gender of the fetus. That is not necessarily what we're talking about. However, it's important to say that, okay? Just because of where this conversation is going, if that makes sense. Now, the gist of this conversation is to pretty much be aware, okay, of the things that we're all dealing with to not only make us a bit more aware, socially and spiritually, but mentally and emotionally as well. I think we are all so caught up in this man woman war that we are forgetting that we are still human beings and we are creatures of the Most High. And we really need to make sure that we are conscious of how we deal with one another. And with that being said, let's kind of focus on some of the things that we have to deal with collectively, right? What are some things that men and women deal with? Okay, so obviously we have bills. Obviously we have to take care of children. If you have any, I don't have any. Even if you have parents that you have to take care of, if you are obligated to certain responsibilities, you have to go to work, whatever, right? Those are like basic adult duties, okay? And then you want to start sliding into not gender roles, but gender norms, okay? So, as I've stated, as a female, right? You may have to buy maxi pads, you may have to buy panty liners, you may have to get your hair done every week or every other week, you may have to go bra shopping, right? You may have to worry about things that you have to invest in to protect yourself physically, right? So maybe you buy mace, maybe you have a little gun, maybe you have a taser. And these are like small expenses, right? We're not saying like these are some grand expenses, but we are just starting to lay out the different things that are required to be a female and what are required to be a male. Okay? We can break this down by age group, by race, by geographic location, by religion, but we're going to try to keep it as broad as possible for right now until it comes up that we need to kind of like break it down a bit more. Okay? Now, as you start to kind of like calculate the different things that you need to do to function as like a man or a woman, start to kind of like really dial back on the things that you might consider a person needing to be a man or a woman. And I think this is kind of going to feed that pipeline of the transgender, the whatever, when people are like changing their sex and getting operations and taking hormones. If the conversation goes there, fine. But we are trying to focus on natural born women, natural born men. I'm not trying to exclude anyone. However, this conversation is for us to kind of look at what we deal with on a day to day basis. And unfortunately, when you are changing your gender on your own merit, right, you are manipulating the things that you might have to deal with. So if you're a man transitioning into a woman, just kind of stick to the things that you would have to deal with as a natural born man. Same thing if you're a natural born woman, think of the things that you would have to deal with as a natural born woman. Try not to be so involved and engaged with the things that you have to deal with as your new sex, because that's not the sex that you were born with. I mean, unless you're like gonorrheic or like hermaphrodite or something like that. Okay, let's just try to keep this basic. Let's try not to go too far over. Okay, now with that being said, I believe that this conversation is going to turn into a series. Usually, when we do our series, it'll run for a week or so. But I remember the Most High telling me that this was actually going to kind of be one of those things that we start doing And I remember about a week or so ago, the Most High was telling me that our conversations are going to start changing. So I'm assuming that this is one of those conversations where we are now starting to focus on other things. This is very much spirituality. However, it's not just about the warfare. Although this is where a lot of the warfare comes in and where it comes from, we still have to be mindful of the physical aspect of our lives because we are very much so intertwined with the world as it is, and we don't really have a good understanding of ourselves outside of that, right? And when I say we, I mean like as people, right? Some of us are spiritually in tune, spiritually inclined, and we have really great spiritual hygiene, and we are able to make the distinction between this realm and others. While many people that we interact with on a day-to-day basis, they are very much still of the world, okay? And we want to make sure that we are bringing them up to speed. If this is something that the creator wants you to, digest and take into your spirit, then you will absolutely positively be receiving a download from this message, and hopefully this will cause you to do a little waking up, right? So we need to be honest with ourselves when we have these conversations. We need to be willing to open ourselves up to understand the plight of, the other gender. So if you're a woman, don't just say, oh, he's a man, he can do this, he can do that. And if it's like you're a man, don't be like, oh yeah, she's a female, she don't have to worry about this. Because truthfully, we only know what we think we know, if that makes sense. Like, we don't really understand what it is that people actually deal with on a day to day, even if you're with them physically, right? A man is not as vocal as a female. So you won't necessarily know what a man is dealing with psychologically, right? So if he's not willing to open up to you about what it is that he's dealing with, and if you're not using your psychic powers, then you just may not know, and you don't want to assume. And would behoove you, and it would be beneficial for you to know and be privy to what it is that a man is dealing with, especially if this is a man that you have a spiritual connection to, whether it is, someone that you're related to, like you're bound to them by blood, or if it's just your partner or just a friend. It could just be your coworker or your neighbor, right? You never know how being aware could change the atmosphere, how it could change the frequency of something, okay? Before we go, because we are going to end this segment very soon, just make sure you are not judging, okay? That is like the number one rule. And listen, okay? Those are the things we have to make sure we're doing. So before we get into these conversations, please, guys, be aware of the things that you're thinking and saying, and kind of try to just slow down. Like, before you make an assessment, before you make a comment, before you have a rebuttal, actually try to like think about what you're gonna say before you say it. I'm really tired, so I'm not trying to be cute. Y'all know I don't get up here and try to be cute. I don't do that. Okay? I'm not about that. We are gonna do what the Most High said, and the Most High is not all about the vanity, child. He is about the truth. He's about that sword. Okay? And with that being said, as we go into this conversation, hopefully this conversation will start to gain traction so we could really get input of people from different age groups, different cultures, different backgrounds, right? Different perspectives, because it's going to open us up to a really, really good understanding of what we believe, and it's gonna let us know if what we're thinking is true or not, because a lot of the times we're wrong. Our assessments of the people that we interact with, a lot of the times it's like, okay, you were a little bit right, but in most cases we need to kind of give people grace and start understanding that we're all human, and that we're all experiencing life, and that we all need assistance, and that we all need guidance, and that we are all in this together trying to figure this thing out. And yeah, so this is like a introduction to the conversations that we're going to be having. Maybe I will not look like this hopping on camera again. Maybe I will. I don't give a damn. I'm not trying to come up here and look cute and be a distraction. This is a very necessary conversation. We have gone into the woman, the man being a woman in the womb first. I don't think we're going to have to spend much time on that. But I do believe that we are going to take a poll and start asking men and women what it is that they would consider is like an average week for them, or like an average day or average month. And we'll start to move forward from there. This conversation, I don't know how long it's going to carry on, but yeah, let's start getting into what we need from one another, and how we can invest in one another and stop being Krabby Patties, okay? But I'm gonna end here. I do love you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed your weekend. I hope you are drinking your water, eating your fruit and vegetables, and sipping on your own tea because it's free. I love y'all.